Hi, I'm Anne from Game Like a Mother. I specialize in games that can be played in 20 minutes or less, and this is my top 10 list for 8-year-old games. 8 is a magical age where all of a sudden it seems like all of the game boxes have 8 plus printed on them, so you have so many choices for what to play. And for these, we have picked our top 10 8-year-old games that are really thematically geared for kids and really appeal to 8-year-olds to play. I have all the games listed in the description of the video with a timestamp if you want to skip to a particular one. And I have my how to play videos linked as well to make things just a little bit easier for you. So let's get started. First up, we have Sleeping Queens. The goal of Sleeping Queens is to be the first to collect a certain number of queens or to get to a certain point value. It depends on how many people you're playing with. In a 4-player game, you're trying to be the first to either 40 points or 4 queens. The queens can have different values. And you get queens with all these different specialty cards. If you collect a king, then you're able to play it down to get a queen, and the queens are all face down. So you flip one over and you don't know. It could be a 5-point queen. It could be a 20-point queen. It could be the queen of cats, which is great, but then if you get the queen of dogs, you can't have both the queen of cats and the queen of dogs in your hand at the same time. They fight, so you have to pick one to put back. So there's just lots of fun things like that. If somebody plays their knight card on you and you have a collected queen, they can steal your queen from you unless you have a dragon card and that blocks them. So there's just a lot of fun, interesting things. Kids can feel it's busy, but it's not anything too tricky, and kids love playing this. I, as a parent, enjoy playing it with my kids. It's fun for me as well. And side note, Sleeping Queens 2 is out now, and we've played it, and it's very fun. And I would say Sleeping Queens 2 does not replace Sleeping Queens. That's the favorite one to play. But if you have a kid who just loves Sleeping Queens and just wants more of that, then Sleeping Queens 2 is very fun and worth checking out too. So it's very good as well. Next up, we have 5-Minute Mystery and 5-Minute Dungeon. I'm lumping them in together because I love them both so much. In 5-Minute Mystery, you have a case file and you're trying to work together to find symbols on scene cards, which you use to enter into a codex. Kids lose it over the cool codex. And then with that, you unlock clues and you're trying to figure out who the culprit is. In the base level, it's not always 5 minutes. The base level, the first one you start with is 9 minutes and you're supposed to catch one culprit. We love this game. It works well for kids and for adults. They have different levels that you're doing for different case files. So some are easy, some are medium, and some are hard. And it also depends on how many people you're playing with. With just 2 people playing, you have a lot to do. And if you have 4, 5, or 6, then you have the same amount of work just dispersed among more people. But it's kind of like a replayable escape room game. Kinda, but it's so fun to play. Kids are way better at finding the symbols than adults, hilariously enough. And it's cooperative and it plays really well. And then the other one by the same publisher is 5-Minute Dungeon. And again, it's a speed cooperative activity where you're trying to battle your way through a dungeon. When you're trying to defeat the first boss, baby boss, you have 20 cards, plus a few bonus cards, depending on how many people you have playing. And you each have your own hero with a specialty deck, and you're frantically playing out cards that match the symbols of whatever's on the center and making it through all the different doors to make it to the end and battle the boss, all in 5 minutes. These 2 games are 2 of my go-tos. I teach these board game camps. And whenever I say, oh, I want an instant win for these kids in the class, these are the games that I break out because every kid loves them. In 5-Minute Dungeon, your first time through, you can set a timer and make it not be just 5 minutes. You can say, okay, we'll see how long it takes us. And so the first time it might take people like 7 or 8 minutes while they're just getting it down. But then you have a feeling of success, like, oh, okay, I understand what I'm doing here. And then the kids make it in 5 minutes after that. 8-year-old kids, sometimes I have younger kids doing this, and if there's a few people that are really on it and excited about the game, you make it in time and then you're ready to battle the next boss. So you can be, these are challenging, they're timed, but you can be very successful. And they're pretty unique compared to a lot of the board games out there, and kids just lose it over these games. Next up, we have Dragonwood, a game of dice and daring. And in this, you are trying to earn the most points by the end of the game by collecting mystical creatures that add up to the highest point total. All you're doing is you're collecting cards, and then with those cards, you are making different kinds of attacks. You can have a stomp, which is all cards of the same number. You can have a strike, numbers in a row, or you can have a scream, cards all of the same color. And then on all the different creature cards that are out, they have a different point total that you have to get for each one of those types of attacks. And so you place down your cards. If you have 3 of the same number, then you have a stomp attack. You place down 3 cards. You get to have 3 dice for your 3 cards that you place down. You roll the dice and see if you get the number that allows you to collect the mystical creature. And they're pretty fun. They're things like the grumpy troll, spooky spider, pack of wolves. You can get special power cards called enhancements, like the Cloak of Darkness or the Silver Sword or a Friendly Bunny. And they all do things to make it easier to get the different creatures. There are event cards that can do things like make you draw extra cards or pass cards or get rid of all the enhancement cards out in the middle. And this one we have played to death. We have played this so much. We wore out the cards. We had to sleeve them, which we normally don't do. We put little plastic sleeves on each one of the cards because we played this so much. It was both of my boys. It's been one of their absolute favorites. I love playing it with them. And then if they're really into this, there's Dragon Realm they came out with. It's like the next level. And we also really love that one. So you just this is such a solid game. And if your child gets into it, they will just play it over and over and over again. Next, we have Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, the speed game that every kid becomes obsessed with once they are introduced to it. All you're doing is everybody starts with the same amount of cards, and as you're flipping out the cards, you were saying taco, then the next person says cat, then goat, cheese, pizza, and if the card you play out matches the word you're saying, then everybody tries to slap the card, and whoever is last to slap collects the cards. So it seems like it's easier than other speed games because you just have to not be last in order to feel like you're doing okay in this game. So it works well with a group. They have specialty cards. There's the gorilla where you beat your chest and then have to slap. There's the groundhog where you beat the table and then have to slap. And there's even a narwhal and then you slap. They have a holiday edition. They have a Halloween edition. We got the holiday edition and my kids are really excited about that one too. So it's really nice to have a speed game in your collection, and this just seems universally appealing to kids and they love it. Next, we have Draftosaurus, a game in which you are trying to maximize your points, placing just 12 dinosaur tokens in a zoo. And that's it. Each round, you're given 6 dinosaurs that you hold in your hand. It's random. And then you get to place one on your turn. Then you pass the rest of the dinosaurs to the left. You get dinosaurs from the person next to you. And now you have, of those 5, you get to place one. And you keep on going for a round. You do 2 rounds until you've placed 12 dinosaurs. But there's a few different things going on too. Somebody gets the turn with the die each time and they roll the die, and that determines where people can place dinosaurs, and it applies to everyone but that person who rolled it. So they can have it be where, oh, you have to place it in an empty pen, or oh, you have to place it where there isn't already a T-Rex, or it has to be on the grasslands side of the board. And that can be fun because you can have your best laid plans and then that die roll just messes you up. And it's nice because the basics of the game are so easy to just place a dinosaur in one of the pens. But so it's quick to get up and running, but there's a level of strategy there in maximizing your score because there's a forest of sameness where you have to place dinosaurs that are all the same type. And then there's also a meadow of differences, which is basically the same thing, but they all have to be different dinosaurs. And you get slightly more points if you're putting dinosaurs into the forest of sameness than the meadow of differences. But it's much easier for someone to block you if they say, oh, they're just placing a bunch of pink brachiosauruses over there. I'm just going to make sure that I take any pink brachiosauruses before they come to them and place it in another pen in the zoo so they can't get that. So you have a little bit going on. So it's pretty quick. I mean, placing 12 dinosaurs doesn't take very long, but there's a level of strategy there. And there's two different sides. There's a different side of the board. There's the summer side and then there's a winter side as well. So this is one of those games that is so quick to get up and running. Kids really love the dinosaur theme and the bright color. Like it's very cute, the pieces. But then it fully works as an adult game too because the gameplay is so fun and it doesn't feel like just a little kid game. And there's enough strategy and interaction there that this is one that is easy to be played over and over again. Next, we have Pusheen the Cat Purrfect Pick card game. And this is on this list because it is an amazing theme. Themes mean so much to kids. And if you have somebody that wants a game not super hardcore, but with a great theme and is fun to play, then this is your game. All you're doing is you are collecting essential cards and you're using those to purchase snapshot cards that all have different star counts on them, and whoever's first to 10 stars wins. So I think there's some good fundamentals here for other games down the line. You want kids to enjoy games and then they're willing to try out other games. So this isn't for a child who's a hardcore gamer, is already playing Carcassonne and more robust type games. This is for a child that says, oh, I don't know that I want to play a game. Things like this are fantastic. The gameplay is fun. There's some strategy, but just the theme matters so much. And having something that's competitive, but not like a in your face, some of the speed games for certain kids, they just don't like it. People are slapping cards. It's kind of aggressive. And this is mellow, nice, and kids go nuts for Pusheen. On this level, there's a Taco Bell Party Pack card game that's like the same thing if your kid's thing is Taco Bell instead of Pusheen the cat. Get a game with the right theme and they will be into it. I really enjoy it. It's sweet. It's fun. I really enjoy playing this, but this has been great for my older daughter. Can be pretty reluctant to play some of the new games. We're always throwing new games at her. It would probably be easier for her if we just settled into one or two and she just played those on repeat. But this one, Pusheen the cat, was all she needed. She was so happy to play this every time I asked. So just a game with the right theme, and it's fun and it's good intro to other games like Splendor and strategy games along those lines, but it's definitely geared for kids. Next, we have Ghost Fightin' Treasure Hunters. This game is like Clue. Even the board, it kind of feels like Clue, but it's cooperative, and you're working together to get all of the treasure out of the haunted house before too many of the haunted figures appear. You start out with a number of ghosts, and then each turn you flip over a card that will place another ghost in a room. And if you have 3 ghosts in a room, there's a haunted figure that appears instead. It's like a big red figure. And those are much harder to battle off. It takes 2 people working together to roll dice and take them out. And so you're just trying to go in, roll the dice, move along, get the treasure out, and do that before the haunted figures come along. This game, thematically, kids love it. Adults, really. It's a pretty fun game, especially to play around Halloween. And it's nice because It's cooperative, but it isn't timed, and it's not necessarily easy, especially your first few times you're going to, you might lose playing this game. So there's a nice tension there, but it's achievable. You can do it, but you need to work together, battle those ghosts. There's just a lot of fun gameplay going on, and this one is a favorite for a lot of people. Next, we have Santorini, and the tagline for this game is build like a mortal, win like a god. And that should sell you on it right there. The goal of the game is each person or each team has two little workers, and you're placing blocks, and you can travel up on the blocks, and you're trying to be the first to have one of your workers on a third level, and then you win. So that's the base game. You can dome some of the towers that you're building, and that means nobody can go on the top of them. So there's ways to block people, but this is a great game if your kid really likes chess or checkers, or if you really want them to like chess or checkers and there isn't enough of a theme there to really draw them in. There's a lot of the same spatial logic from those types of games used in Santorini. But what really sets it apart is once you get the base game down, they have all of these Greek gods that they introduce that have special powers that allow their workers to do different things. So there's Artemis, whose worker gets an additional move. Atlas, the worker can build a dome on any level. Pan wins if the worker moves down 2 or more levels. So it's fun. It kind of switches up the strategy a little bit every time and makes it really engaging and fun. And so it's pretty simple to get up and running. The powers are pretty easy to understand, but this is one where you can play over and over, and it's teaching some great concepts for other games as well, but it's just fully fun and a great choice all in its own right. Next, we have The Key, Sabotage at Lucky Llama Land. This game is like Clue, but it's up a few levels from that. You are grabbing clue cards out in the center of the board that are associated with whichever color key you've picked that you're trying to solve for this time. So if you're trying to solve for the blue key, then there's a whole bunch of clues they have out there, and some they have multiple colors on them, and you're just picking up anything that has a blue on it because then it's associated with your case. And you're trying to figure out on which date, which person, with which tool was at a specific ride, sabotaging it. So there's a bit to figure out. The clue cards can have different ticket stubs on them that tell you, okay, that they have a little chart and they say, okay, that means this person was there on a particular date. There's like a mirror that you can hold up to a shoe print and see, okay, which of these shoe prints actually matches the one in the case file. So there's a bit of like detective work going on. And technically it's kind of a speed game because you're supposed to flip through and then the first person to be done gets to check and they have a bonus if they're right. Because what you do is once you have all of the information sorted out, then it corresponds to, it creates a code. And so it could be, okay, for blue, my number that I came up with because these people were in this order, so that means it's a 6. These weapons were in this order, or these tools, so that means it's a 4. And then these were the rides in this order, so it's a 2. So 6, 4, 2, and you check and see if that's the right thing on the scoring card. If this sounds a little bit complicated, it is. The first time you play, there's like a learning game where you say, wait, what? What do these different icons mean on the different cards? Because there's information telling you on the back of the cards if it's about a person, a location, a ride, a specific date. So you kind of have to get used to that. There's different point values if it's a big clue or if it's a little clue. So it could be worth just 1 point or it could be worth 4 points and you don't want to get points. So there's a little bit going on. This would be for ages 8 and up if they are very good at games, usually get things down pretty quickly. But if they've only been playing games like Clue and Chutes and Ladders, then don't throw this at them yet. Let them get a little work first because we've been playing this with my 9-year-old daughter loves this game, and she's very good at it. But it took a round or two to get it down, and she plays a lot of games, and it still took her a round or two to get it down. It took me a round or two to get it down. It's a little tricky the first time through, but it is so fun. It's so interesting. It's really neat to figure out the clues. And if you do this, there's a lot of replayability. In theory, you could memorize all the numbers that go with the different clues, but you'd have to be playing this all the time. But even if you do play this all the time, they have two different other versions. There's the Theft at Cliff Rock Villa and Murder at the Oakdale Club, if you want a couple alternate versions to play. But kids love mystery games. I really enjoy playing mystery games with them, and this is so cleverly done. It just takes a certain level of play to get into it to begin with, but then once you're there, it is so fun, and you can be a little detective, and you can work on your own. Sometimes we end up working together, especially for teaching somebody new to it, like, oh, okay, let's figure this out together. So whatever kind of level you want to play it at, but it's so fun, and it's a really neat take on the whodunit kind of game. Next up, we have Zombie Teens Evolution. And the reason this is last on the list is because before you play this, you need to have played Zombie Kids Evolution, or at least you should have, because that is the precursor to this. In Zombie Kids Evolution, you are working together. You have a team of kids superheroes that are battling zombies trying to enter their school. And in this one, in Zombie Teens Evolution, the kids are now teenagers, and they're trying to find the antidote. And so they're collecting ingredients and using that to change the zombies back into people, is the premise of the game. But what makes this game just so incredible is that it's a legacy game, which basically means the rules change and the game develops and grows as you play it. So as you're playing, at certain points, you get to unlock new envelopes, which give your characters new powers, introduce new characters, give the zombies different powers and abilities that you have to watch out for. And oh my goodness, each time you open up one of those envelopes, everyone's so excited. The kids are losing it. I'm losing it. It's so much fun. This one even contained stickers to put in a comic in the rule book that tells like the story of what's happening. The kids loved that too. It's just so much fun. The one thing I would say about this game is it is not the type of game to pick up and casually play with different people upon occasion. It is so much better when you have a set group and you're going through the process of playing through and discovering how, like, your best gameplay and the different powers to unlock. So it's best, but it's best with like your family to just play it through together as your set thing. But I mean, my kids, when we were playing this, would beg to play it every night. I'd be begging them to play it every night. It's also a game that, because it's a legacy game, once you're finished, once you've gone through and achieved all the goals, the game's basically done. You can still play it with just for fun, some of the different missions, go back and play this, but it's not the same as when you're going through and unlocking new things and discovering new things as you're going along. So you can still play around with it, but that said, we had hours and hours and hours of entertainment out of this. There were a lot of different missions to go through. We very much feel like we got our money's worth, and I just, we absolutely loved it. And so if you want a family like experience, board game experience to embark upon, I would hands down, Zombie Kids Evolution and then Zombie Teens is fantastic. So that's it for my top 10 8-year-old games. Man, it does feel like you've kind of arrived once you've gotten to this age for games. There are just so many great options. So hopefully you found 1 or 2 or 10 that you're excited about trying out from my list. And if you have any favorite games that you think I should know about, please let me know. I always check out game recommendations. And thank you so much, and I'll see you next time from Game Like a Mother.